Hello and welcome back. Today I'll do a quick video just to show you the different dimensions on the Talaria Sting. I've been asked by a few of you just to show the bike in detail and also the differences. Is it higher? Is it bigger than the Surround? So I thought I'll just do that with you today. First of all, just please note I've added a few things. So it's no longer a stock Talaria. I mentioned in my first video that I have a riser bar in here, but I also changed the front forks, the RST killers, to a set of Bomber 888s. These are 2008 forks, so quite old model, oil bath technology, but they actually work quite well. Just a little heavy. If I had money, I'd get probably more newer forks, but this is what it is. It's still really good, but a lot more plush and compliant than the RST when it comes to hard stuff. I couldn't really tune the RST more than what it was. Also, I've added a front fender from our friends at A-Bikes. It's not going to work, I know. So as I jump and I bottom out the fork, it's obviously going to touch in here. So I just wanted to toy out and play. I'm probably going to have to cut that. That's going to be ugly, but it will be functional. So I'll try that a bit later. And I also added a handguard, set of handguards, Warp 9 handguards from A-Bikes as well. Other than that, the rest is pretty much stock, except for a rear shock that I've added as well. This is a RockShox R2C, I believe. Okay, so dimension-wise, let's start with pegs to the ground. The bike is mostly flat at the moment, so this is pretty accurate, I reckon. So top of the pegs, we're at pretty much 36.5 centimeters from the ground. Then if we look at the head stem, so the top of the head stem here, we're at from the ground, and I'm measuring just in here, just underneath the insert. So on the frame, we're at 96 centimeters from the ground. If we measure from the ground all the way to the head stem, so at the top here, we're at 103. And then with the riser bars that I have here, the Ergonomics, we're getting to 116 to the ground from the handlebars. Then if we're looking at front wheel to rear wheel axle, so I'm measuring axle to axle essentially, roughly, so forgive me for the measurements, but roughly we're at 129.5. I'd say 129 most likely. Of course, if I was to push the rear wheel back, I'll gain a little bit of wheelbase. But what I love about the Talaria is just the adjustment from a swing arm point of view is great. So the only thing I did actually, I changed that bolt here, which was a bit flaky out of factory, to a much longer bolt. And a better nut here, so I have a little bit better, it's a bit more stable essentially. Okay, so then we have the seat. So most of you has asked how tall is the seat from the ground. So if we're looking here to say where you're seated, most likely we're at 88 centimeters. Was that 88? No, actually it is 88. It's just an optical illusion on the video. So 88 centimeters from, I'd say, the bottom of the seat. And then at the rear, if we're looking all the way to the tail, we're at, say, about 97 centimeters. Okay, and then what else was I asked? Pegs to... Oh yeah, swing arm. So the width of the swing arm, I measured earlier for someone. It was pretty much, if I take it from here, I've got 16, a little bit more than 16 actually, width. And from the far bottom side of the swing arm, we're at 16, yeah, so 16 centimeters is the width of the swing arm. Then the hub, so this is a different hub. On the Talaria, it is a wider hub, so it's not going to fit the Surround hub. If I measure here, disc to In a sprocket, we're at 11.5, so 115 millimeter, 11.5 centimeter. That's the width of the Talaria hub at the rear. The front is the same, I believe, so no need to change the hub, even though it's a Talaria branded hub. Okay. Other than that, I don't know what other measurements you'd like to see, but if you are interested, please let me know. And I can definitely have a look for you. I think one thing that people have not asked yet is around the battery and the battery dimensions. So why don't we do that together? And I'll just pop the battery out and have a look. So we'll take that connector off here, different connector than the surround, a little better quality. Like everything on this bike, everything is slightly more better quality built. Okay, so we've got our battery here. So that's our Talaria battery. Height is to the case 36.5, to the top of the connector 37.5. And then if we're looking at width, we've got here 16.7, I'd say. And then on this side here, we've got 12.5, or actually 13 centimeters. So yeah, that's the dimension. That's the battery box dimension here. So if we look from the bottom here all the way to the top, we're at about, if I was to stop here, essentially, would be at 33.5. And it's kind of hard to measure, but you see here there is a little bit more space underneath this cover here. So it probably count another 6-7 centimeters that fits underneath this cover here. Okay, seat wise, is there a difference with the seat length? The seat here is 49.5 centimeters from the actual top of the seat all the way to the bottom, 49.5. And then width of the actual bike. So when you look at the bike this way, the width of the bike, I'm not taking pegs to pegs, I'm just literally taking frame here. And it's probably not the most accurate measurement, but I eyeball it and that should be good enough. We're looking at 18.5. So yeah, 18.5, I'd say. So that's the width of the bike here, side to side, where you put your feet, your legs. Actually, as you can see, I've done something pretty ugly here, but actually really functional. Allows me to grip on the bike. And as you sit on the pegs on this bike, as you see, I have the pegs here set in the middle, but actually I'm quite far forward on the bike. I wish I could have moved. I will actually move it forward here, but I haven't got around to doing it yet. But as you do that, when you sit on the bike, your feet, your legs actually tuck nicely here when you're literally straight on the bike. And then when you attack and you put a bit of weight at the front, that's where my legs actually are caught. So this works very, very well when I'm either sitting and putting my leg out, or tucking my legs against the bike. And when I sit up, I really have my feet, my legs that are catching on this. So I need to find something grippy that I can actually put around this and clear the cover for the key. But this is actually quite ergonomic. I don't know if you can see here, but when you are sitting on the bike, it's actually really comfortable. It's almost made to fit your legs, I actually can't comment. I had an X260. I can't remember if that was the case or not on the X260. I do remember very well that the X260 feels very different than this bike. This bike, when I sit on it, feels like I'm a lot more on the front of the bike. So there's a lot more weight at the front of the bike, and so as a result, it feels a lot better, a lot more planted. I can't remember on the X260, but I do remember that I didn't have the same feeling of feeling like literally on the tank or on the cover on the front of the bike. So with this one, geometry-wise, it hits better. At least for me, anyway. And yeah, I really like that the way they've positioned um, the cover and how things are curved. Essentially, it kind of fits nicely with the legs. Um, okay, and then we've got measurement wise. So we've got the gearbox here with the sprocket. So the sprocket sits at about let's say 3 on the outer and 1.8 centimeter on the inner. So 1.8 to 3 is the length of the sprocket, and 1.8 centimeter is the length of the sprocket to the shaft, or to the bearing, the gearbox bearing. Sorry. Um, yep. And then other than that, I mean, I'm thinking geometry at the rear, that's the same. I mean, the shock's the same length, whether it's a surround on the neck, so not really the same, but the linkage would be different. I can't really measure the linkage, to be honest with you guys. That's gonna be a bit difficult to do on this one. But my guess is that the linkage might possibly leave the rear a little bit more, which is why it feels like the bike is more planted at the front, most likely because there's more weight pushed to the front because of the geometry. That would be my guess. So don't take me on this. I don't know how to measure this, but if you have any suggestions, please put them on the comments, and happy to do that for you guys. So I did change the forks like I mentioned earlier. So it's different triple clamps. The Talaria actually comes with that insert here, so I didn't have to change that. I was advised, I had issues, and again, I should say I'm not a mechanic. I had issues trying to tighten this because this is the stock head stem, and after jumping and a lot of very rocky terrain, the column would start to move, and I would have play with the head direction. So I asked a few guys on Facebook. I didn't have a lot of comments, but what I ended up doing or figuring out is that I need quite a lot of tension on that nut here, so it holds obviously the stem. Same with those two bolts. But what I ended up doing was running a threaded rod from here all the way down underneath, and I actually used a nut here to press it up, obviously not over tightening the bearings. There's absolutely no catch, it's free play, but that allowed me to have at least it works really well when I go on very hard terrain. I don't have any more play in the steering direction, and it also helps me to fit my this here. I obviously will work on this because that's not gonna work, so I'm gonna need to figure out how to do that properly. But other than that, so far it seems to fit well. So that was geometry. This video was about dimensions. So the last thing I wanted to show you was before I ordered the Talaria, I had an X260 like I mentioned. So I had a set of 1821 from Milk Racing that ended up coming here when the bike was sold. I found out that the stock, so that's obviously a surround type of hub. You can see how narrow this hub is. I mean, it's a lot smaller. So I ended up fitting this wheel, by the way. It fits the Talaria with a bit of fiddling, but it fits. This is a 140/80/18. So that's a fat tire. Like, look at this. I didn't know until I put it on and realized, yeah, crap, I need a lot more power on this. The bike's now like almost 20% more heavy just by adding 2 different wheels. So I will actually not use those wheels until the Talaria comes with an upgraded controller that I can use. And then when I have a bit more juice, I can put those wheels on. But the point I was trying to make is I had to make spaces, which I'm also not happy about. Make comments on YouTube, please tell me if that will even work or not. but I don't think it will. It needs to be a solid billet piece, or a solid piece to hold that sprocket. It takes a lot of torque with an electric bike, so I'm really not comfortable with that setup. I will change that, but that was just to illustrate and try to show you that you can actually fit a much bigger wheel on the Talaria. What I had to do was to offset the hub as well. So I did offset the hub by 1.2 millimeter on the left in order to clear the chain here on the right. As you can see on the stock tire, there's plenty of clearance. This tire is an 80-100 compared to 70, I believe, 100 on the Surround. So with an 80, plenty of clearance, but also plenty of space here. So actually, let's do that. Let's just try to measure clearance between the knob and the chain, and we're at literally 1.4 centimeter. Hard to see. And then on the other side, plenty of clearance. So if we look from the swing arm to our tire here, we've got almost close to 4 centimeters. Sorry guys, this video is really bad. So yeah, 4 centimeters. So 4 centimeters on the left and 1.5 on the right. Plenty of clearance, but with a big tire like that, you gotta offset it a little bit to the left. And then also, one thing to note is when you do that, you end up hitting that linkage here. So at the moment, stock with a tire that, as you can see, is rooted. I've got 300 Ks on that bike now, which I don't ride it a lot, unfortunately. I wish I could. From that linkage stock to the tire stock, you've got about 3 centimeters. If we have a brand new tire, let's imagine. So it would be about 3 centimeters. So as you can see with this, we're already at 1.5 centimeter of a knob just there, plus a much bigger profile. So you end up hitting that linkage. So there is no other way. You got to push that wheel all the way back, and I had to actually get a little bit more clearance here. Yes, I cheated, but you have to, in order to push that wheel back as far as possible to clear that linkage. Not by much. I think I shove about 0.5 of a centimeter, but enough that that would clear the linkage, and not enough that you would actually run out of material and potentially cause issues in the long run. And by doing that, you clear the linkage very well. So dimension wise, I think that's pretty much it. I think I got the dimension axis to axis. If we're looking like end of the tire to end of the tire, so back tire all the way to front tire, so really like length of the bike tire to tire, and we'll probably finish with that measurement. We will be at about 1.9 meter. 1.9 meter. So that's the length of the bike. That's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to comment on YouTube. Ask whatever you need to know. Actually, let's probably stop with one last measurement, and that would be stock, the ground to the bash plate. So we're at 33. Actually, no, we're at 32 centimeters to the ground. So you've got 32 centimeters of clearance with the stock tire and the stock bike. Not sure if you get more clearance or less clearance on the Surround. I can't remember. But honestly, riding it on the trails I usually try with the X260, I can tell you that there are places I knew I touched on the 260 that I don't actually touch on the Talaria. So it most likely is slightly higher. That's it for it today. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If there's anything else you'd like me to show you about this bike, please comment on YouTube. And I have also last thing, look at that. Not sure if we have that on the X260s, but as you put the battery, it engages that switch. Such a nice little mechanical switch, I guess. It's probably never gonna fail, this thing. But yeah, like if you have anything else that you need to know, let me know. Happy to comment. Have a good day, guys, and talk soon.